It's Friday, January 27th, 2023, and this is the Washington Times front page. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. An Israeli military raid in the occupied West Bank killed 9 suspected Palestinian militants and sent regional tensions soaring. The 9 Palestinians reported killed in the raid in Jenin, along with a 10th Palestinian killed in protests after the raid, marked the deadliest single day in the Israeli-Palestinian clash in nearly 2 decades, Dave Sands reports. Another 20 people were reported wounded in the raid. Palestinian officials said they were calling for a general strike and suspending a joint security accord with the Israeli government. They've done that to protest past clashes, but analysts fear the death toll from Thursday's raid could pose a deeper threat to the accord. Harmeet Dillon has hope that the 100-plus RNC members who pledged their support for incumbent chair Ronna McDaniel could have a change of heart in private. Kerry Pickett and Seth McLaughlin report that Dillon and her surrogates insist that's happening. Dillon's campaign got a bump when Florida Governor Ron DeSantis came out in favor of her bid to lead the party organization. McDaniel's supporters remain bullish about a re-election win. They say her interpersonal and party-building skills are some of the reasons she'll win an unprecedented 4th term. 168 RNC members will vote on Friday, with a simple majority needed to become chair. A web of environmental groups is stepping up the campaign to persuade states and local communities to switch to all-electric energy. Susan Ferricchio reports the Rocky Mountain Institute, the Sierra Club, and other environmental groups are working to prohibit gas appliances in communities as part of an aggressive move to a net-zero global economy by 2050. Some of those groups have taken on outsized roles in helping governments devise their policies. In New Jersey, Governor Phil Murphy hired the Rocky Mountain Institute to serve as a primary consultant on the state's 5-year Energy Master Plan. That plan provides a blueprint to achieve 100% clean energy by 2050, in part by electrifying all new and existing buildings and establishing offshore wind and community solar programs to replace gas and other fossil fuels. You can read all of these stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page. You can also find the entire lineup of Washington Times podcasts at WashingtonTimes.com/podcasts. Is it Lunar New Year or Chinese New Year? Andrew Salmon reports the nomenclature debate over the holiday is playing out in Asia and elsewhere. Defenders of Chinese New Year argue that China originated the holiday. They also say Lunar New Year is imprecise because there are multiple lunar calendars worldwide. Defenders of Lunar New Year point out that regardless of its origins, the holiday as it's celebrated today is not exclusive to Chinese. In his statement marking the holiday this week, Secretary of State Antony Blinken said, "I wish all observing the Lunar New Year around the world good health, peace, and good fortune." Louisiana Republican Senator John Kennedy is warning about the potential misuse of the U.S. legal system that would allow adversaries to fund lawsuits against American companies and use the discovery process to obtain intellectual property. Alex Sawyer reports Kennedy sent a letter to the Supreme Court and Department of Justice raising the national security risks linked to third-party litigation funding. Third-party litigation funding is a commercial enterprise in which a third party, potentially a hedge fund or even a sovereign wealth fund connected to a government, pays a plaintiff's legal cost to fund a lawsuit with the intent to reap a portion of the awards if the suit prevails. A spokesperson for the International Finance Association dismissed some of the concerns raised by Kennedy, calling them baseless talking points. And finally, Joseph Clark talks with Jackie Berlin, who is worried about how a pending decision on whether to allow so-called safe injection sites could make her son's struggle with addiction harder to overcome. The DOJ is expected to decide soon whether the federal government will allow a group in Philadelphia to open safe havens for addicts to use heroin and other drugs under supervision to avoid fatal overdoses. Proponents say the legalization of supervised facilities is a pragmatic approach to stopping the plague of drug overdoses. Berlin's son, who lives in San Francisco with a fentanyl addiction, says that allowing the sites to take root there would deepen the city's drug crisis. Find all of today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Washington Times in any major podcast app. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.